Hi, I'm Ken Bingham. Welcome back. Last time we learned how to talk to AI. In a moment, one conversation at a time. And right at the end, I mentioned a way to make all of that permanent so you never have to repeat yourself. That is the directive. And today I'll give you a video of its own. Because once you have one of these, you stop starting from scratch and your AI begins every single chat already knowing exactly who to be. So let's start with the simplest possible definition because there is honestly no mystery to it. A directive is just a piece of plain text that tells the AI how to behave, a code it promises to live by. No programming, no special format. You write it in normal words, the same way you would brief a new assistant on their very first day. I like to think of it as a constitution for your AI. It settles the ground rules before you ever ask your first question. Your values, your boundaries, and the character you want it to be. And here is something really important to be clear about. Because it surprises people, a directive is not code. It does not run. It does not execute. And it changes nothing about the inner workings of the model. It is simply instructions, plain directions the AI chooses to follow. And that is exactly what makes it so versatile. It's not an agent out taking actions in the world. It's more like handing somebody the employee handbook, and it's shaped around values, your preference, your profession, and even politics. But do not mistake simply for weak. Even though it touches none of the machinery, a good directive focuses the AI on the task you actually gave it. And a focused AI is a better AI. It wastes less effort, it stays on point, and it stops wandering. And so, in that quiet way, it genuinely does make the model more efficient. Now, here's a comparison that genuinely surprises people. You have probably heard the buzz about AI agents. An agent is an AI that's been handed tools and a loop, so it can go and take actions, not just talk. And yet, in some important ways, a humble directive is more powerful. And here's why. An agent works at the level of action. It does things. A directive works one level deeper, at the level of behavior. It shapes how the AI thinks and responds in the first place. And since behavior drives action, even an agent still answers to its directive. The directive sits upstream of everything, and it's far cheaper too. An agent runs in a loop, thinking, acting, and checking again and again, and every pass is another call that costs tokens and time. A directive does none of that. It's simply read and ingested. Once it's from its quiet shape, every answer at almost no extra cost. More influence for less spend. So if it's just plain language, what do you actually put in it? The honest answer is almost anything you want. But here are pieces that matter most. Start with your values and your boundaries. The values are how it should think. Things like be honest, cite your sources, and never just guess. The boundaries are the hard lines. Stay in scope and ask before you assume. Then you can give it an actual character. You can give it a name, a personality, a profession, or a role, like a sharp editor or a patient tutor. You can set its tone, its sense of humor, even its point of view. You are turning it in from something into a someone, and you can make it genuinely personal. Tell it your preference, pronouns, and how you would like to be addressed. Plain and simple, or if it amuses you, as your lordship. You can even give it a password, a word only it should know. So the later you can check it and still keep the same directive. It is your AI. Shape it how you see fit. Now remember these two failure modes from the last time, hallucination and drift. Your directive is the single best place to fight both of them. Before they ever start, the trick is to build a healthy, skeptical right into it. Tell it to focus on the task and to stay on it. Tell it to be skeptical, to require sources, and to never make things up. And tell it plainly, do not be a yes man and never humor me by telling me only what I want to hear. That's one line alone that will change the quality of everything it hands you. And if you are putting this to work in a business, take it as a step further. Drop in your company's mission statement so it answers, pulls the right direction. Add a short job description so it understands the role it's playing. And add a line like, never do anything that could damage the company's reputation. At that point, you're not just focusing on you or aligning it with what actually matters to you, but just as important as you want to put it into a directive, it's what you must keep out of it. And this one really matters. So let me be direct. A directive is just text, and text can travel. So never ever put passwords in it, no sensitive personal information, no private company secrets. And here's a simple rule. If you would not paste it into a stranger's notebook, it does not belong in a plain directive. Now, if you genuinely have the work with sensitive material, there are safer ways, but use every one of them with caution. Reference a secret instead of pasting it, and let a proper secrets manager or vault hold the real value, never the prompt itself. Some platforms offer encrypted private workspaces, and you can use those carefully, but always assume that anything which leaves the machine could be stored or seen. And here's the only honest guarantee. The only setup that is 100% secure is a completely private model running on your own machine that never touches the internet at all. Everything else is a matter of trust and degree. Now, I want to give you a little trick I use all the time, and that is part of what I do with directives. I call it the prime directive, and that name is just fun. It's a test. Here is how the test works. If I ever suspect the AI has drifted and lost the directive, I just ask it, what is the prime directive? If it starts happily quoting Star Trek at me, well, then I know it is gone and I can paste it right back in. But if it tells me the actual details of my instructions, I know it's still right on the track. Now, directive and prime directive and my word are my words for it. The industry has a whole pile of names for the very same idea. And you'll hear it called a system prompt, a system message, developer message, or custom instructions, persona, preamble, simply guardrails. They're pointing at the same thing, a standing instruction that shapes how the model behaves. So the next question is, where do you actually put this thing? Because the choice decides whether it sticks around or quietly vanishes. The quickest way is just paste it into the chat window. That works, but only for as long as that one session lasts. Open a new chat and it's gone. Fine for a quick job, not for the long run. So here are the ways to make it load every single time. Most chat tools have a custom instruction setting where your directive applies to every new conversation automatically. You build a project, a custom assistant that carries own instructions. On the developer side, you set the system prompts on every call. Many tools will auto read instruction files you keep in your workspace, and some have a memory that holds your preferences across sessions. And if you run a my locally on your own machine, you bake the directive into the configuration. It loads the moment the model starts. The point is the same across all of them. Set it once in the right place, and you'll never have to think about it again. Now, there's one honest limit you need to understand because it will save you a lot of frustration. Your directive is powerful, but it is not the final word. Underneath every model sit the provider's terms of use, hard coded right into it, and no directive you write can override them. Your guidance lives inside those rules, never on top of them. So every now and then you will write something that seems perfectly reasonable, and the model will push back because it touches or even just skirts one of those hard coded limits. When that happens, your options often a simple rewrite, or you can just ask the AI directly, how can I word this that can comply? Sometimes it can meet there, and sometimes it genuinely cannot. And that is not your doing or you're doing anything wrong. It is part of the model that neither of us controls. And if a model keeps fighting you on something, you're not stuck with that model. Try a different model. They do not all draw the same lines in the same place. And part of the skill is finding the one that fits how you actually work. So, to make all of this concrete, let me hand you a few examples. You could drop straight into a directive. None of it is fancy, it's just plain, clear language. For honesty, you might write, always cite a source. And if you are not certain, say so out loud. For the role, act as blunt senior engineer who values clarity over politeness. For the voice, keep answers short and skip the throat clearing. And you address by my first name. Use my pronouns. Remember that I work in healthcare. So stay careful and precise with any claim. You mix and match, you make it yours, and you grow it over time. As you learn what you like, and here's the real beauty of what you're doing, it is still just plain pronouns. Plain words, no code, the kind anyone can learn to write. But they are a special kind, not questions, but instructions, prompts, and behavioral prompts, telling the AI what to do and how to be. That craft is called engineering, prompt engineering. And these prompts have standing directives saved to a file and config. The field calls that context engineering, and this goes deeper than a single video can. There are more advanced ways to structure a directive with their own internal logic, but I keep the work I do with teams directly. But what you've learned today is already more than most people will ever use, and it will carry you a very long way. So that's the directive, start to finish. It's your values, your boundaries, and your chosen character written in plain words, dropped into the right place, and respected within the model's own limits. You write it once, and it holds. Most people retype what they want their AI to be over and over every single day. You just learn to write it down once and let it run. That is the directive, and it raises the same questions. Which model should you even be directing? Next time we look at models themselves, from the heavy hitters in the cloud to private models you can install that never touch the internet. And that's great getting more capable all the time. If this handed you control you didn't have before, share it with someone who needs it. New videos drop every day, and I'm Ken Bingham.